Yo, what's going on, guys? Josh 3 Arch. Kevin Porter Jr. has made some news in the recent days after being involved in an incident altercation with one of the Houston Rockets assistants. Christian Wood was also involved in that situation, but after that altercation happened, he ended up leaving the game, leaving the court, and disappeared. And we've actually gotten an update on this situation. The Houston Rockets came out and said both of the players, Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood, have both been suspended in the game, the 76ers versus Houston Rockets. So they won't be playing in that game. And this is actually crazy for the Houston Rockets because Kevin Porter Jr. is one of the main Houston Rockets players, and Christian Wood, both talented players that are on that team. So this actually could turn into a bigger situation for them. But Kevin Porter Jr., he's known to have a troubling history. He's known to be one of those guys that are kind of hotheads and will get into situations like this. In early 2019, Kevin Porter Jr. got suspended indefinitely by USC due to personal conduct issues. In 2021, Kevin Porter Jr. were traded to the Houston Rockets after he had that infamous Cavs locker room situation outburst, along with, many other personal issues. This problem could lead the Houston Rockets to trading him and Christian Wood, because Kevin Porter Jr. has gotten into so much situations that it's kind of just building up to the point that maybe something else is going to potentially happen. A lot of teams are definitely going to be interested in Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood. These are two talented players, but their trade value is definitely lowered after this situation. Now, last season on the Rockets, Kevin Porter Jr. actually became the youngest player to have 50 points and 10 assists. That is not seen in the NBA for someone to do that. Actually, literally, that was a record breaker for Kevin Porter Jr. to do. Very talented player on the team. LeBron James has talked really good about Kevin Porter Jr. as a player. You got guys like LeBron James out there that are talking really good about Kevin Porter Jr. It's really unfortunate to have this situation happen because he's a really talented player. You hate to see players that have other personal problems happen in their life that can, make everyone think that they're a bad player and they're not going to be wanted in the NBA. Hopefully he can, become a better person, right? And I'm hoping the best for him. I'm hoping that he can remain a good player in the NBA, hoping that he could stay on the Houston Rockets, because he'd probably hate to be traded off of the Houston Rockets because of this incident. But that's definitely something that's going to be looming for the Houston Rockets. It was something that was looming for the Cavaliers, and they went ahead and made the decision to trade Kevin Porter Jr. I still feel like Kevin Porter Jr. is a great player, still has some trade value, definitely has went down a little bit. But for the Houston Rockets right now, they still got their player Jalen Green. They still are looking pretty promising for the future. Got some really talented players on that team. You don't really want to panic too much as a Houston Rockets fan, but this could be something that gets worse in the future, right? It could be something that gets worse in the future. I'm not too sure what's gonna really happen. That being said, that is gonna wrap up things for this video. Do not forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. We're getting closer to 3,000 subscribers, so don't forget to subscribe so that can happen. Josh 3 Arch, the Archer, and I'm out.